Welcome to Golf and the Good Life, your guide to golf travel across the pond. I'm DJ Jones, joined as always by my good friend and colleague Connor Evers. Connor, we've got a great episode today coming from one of the best destinations for golf in Scotland. But before we get there, I'm curious, how are things on your end as we're wrapping up this very busy 2023 golf travel season?
DJ, appreciate the introduction, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. And I know the last couple episodes I've talked about the golf travel season coming to an end, and we are now at kind of the ending of September into October. So we only have a few more weeks of the golf travel season, and we'll be off until about April of next year. So all is good on that front. On the other golf circuit, we've got the Solheim Cup this week. When this episode comes out, the Solheim Cup will actually be done, but when we're recording this, we're about pretty much when they're playing their practice round. So looking forward to that at Accommodations. And the Ryder Cup is right around the corner as well in Rome. So I've got some good golf viewing, good coffee golf with golf across the pond coming up on our side of things here in North America. But all is good, DJ. Appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to, like you said, some morning golf. It's always a fun thing to have. And wanted to say thanks for a great week. I was up your way at HQ last week for several days. We worked in a little bit of golf as well with you and our director of planning, Chris McCon. Both of you almost made an ace, which was fun to see. Although I guess almost is the key word there. Is there anything really worse than an almost hole in one story? I don't think that there really
No.
is. But shifting back to today's episode, we are heading to the Highlands of Scotland, and it is really remarkable how this destination has transformed over the last 10, 15, 20 years, because there was a time when the Highlands was basically this far-flung, off the beaten path destination that, really only the most intrepid golfers went to visit. And how that has changed. And we'll get into part of the reasons why that's happened. But these days, the Highlands is right there in the conversation with St. Andrews and East Lothian in terms of interest for travel. What's nice about it, though, is that in contrast to some of those other regions where you've got to get on the planning process, a year or more in advance at minimum. Connor, the Highlands offers a little bit of relief to those quote unquote last minute planners who might be doing so just 6, 9, 10 months in advance.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It does an advantage of going to the area, as we'll talk about, and DJ kind of hinted there. There's great stuff from on the golf course as well as off when it comes to touring, and like I said, we'll talk more in depths of that. But you're right. I mean, kind of the three main courses up in the area is Nairn, Royal Dornoch, and Castle Stewart at Cabot Highlands. So those are kind of your three main courses, and there's great availability there, and the window to book some of those courses are a lot further down in the calendar season the year prior, compared to Muirfield, the Old Course, and Royal County Down and Royal Portrush. So it plays a great role in being able to book things a little bit later if you are looking to go to the area. And just speaking about the Highlands just in general, and for next year in 2024, again, as we speak here in kind of the early to starting of fall of 2023, there's still great availability, and you can have a solid trip with main courses as well as some of those second tier courses, also sometimes at a fraction of the cost compared to some of the other areas that we spoke for as well. The other nice thing about the Scottish Highlands is it's great for everyone. So if you have tourists and you're looking to, go to, the west coast of Scotland per se, we're probably going to advise you to look elsewhere and some other areas where there's also good life options as well as golf. And the Highlands really has best of both worlds, if you will. There's plenty to do. If you're there for a week long, you can have tourists that do not play golf, and your driver hosts can bring those tourists and have a great week of touring while you're playing golf. So that's the huge advantage of the area, is it really serves both purposes of golf as well as tourists. For a week, you could stay up there and not even have to change a hotel, which is great. We talked about in the southwest of Ireland, and usually there's sometimes 2 and 3 hotel changes, and the Highlands and what have you. And you can stay in, just for example, Inverness for the whole week, and like I said, not have to change. Inverness Airport's 20 minutes away or so from the town, so everything is very close, which is a huge benefit of the area too. And just kind of talking more specifically about the Highlands and kind of the areas. So to start kind of south, we've got Inverness. So in Inverness is it's more of kind of a city town feel. Like I said, the airport's 20 minutes away, so you can fly into there, and it's more of a regional airport. So you're not going to get any direct flights, if you will, from the States over, but you've got hotels in Inverness right there, and real close is Castle Stewart, Nairn, and a few others around the area. Just the only downfall of it though is the drive. So, from up to Brora, which is about an hour and 15 minutes. Rural Dornoch is about an hour or so door to door. So you will have a little bit more driving, but it does kind of give you that city feel. And then the other area you could stay in would be in the town of Dornoch. There's other options from lodging in that area. And you are literally, if you stay in Dornoch, a lot of times you are walking distance to the first tee of Royal Dornoch, which is amazing.
It's interesting to view it as more or less too many regions within this one region. I had never really considered that, and yet we've had numerous groups through the years who have done exactly that. They've gone to the Highlands for a week, and some of them, opt to stay in one place and never move, and there's some great advantages to that. But we've had others that have broken the trip up and stayed up in Dornoch for a few days and then moved down to Inverness and kind of got a best of both worlds type
Mhm.
situation, which is really neat. You've got to kind of make the choice which is going to be more convenient for your trip. If you're looking to do more good life, you might want to split it up so that you don't have to drive quite as far. Because listen, there is a lot to see off the golf course in this region. And that's what I'm going to start with is the good life up in the Highlands. Like Connor just mentioned, Inverness is kind of the hub town, if you will. We call it a city, but everything is relative. I think there's about 50,000 residents of Inverness, so it's not an overly huge situation. But like you said, convenient access to the airport. Loch Ness is just a short drive away. The suggestion is to actually go and have a look at it from Urquhart Castle, which is kind of a 13th century ish ruined castle right there on the shore. It's absolutely gorgeous, especially on a sunny day, but it's also a very popular spot. So get there early to get ahead of those crowds. But back in town, no shortage of restaurants and pubs. If you're looking for something super casual and you happen to be into craft beer, the Black Isle Brewery, I went there a few months ago. Awesome beer selection and surprisingly very good pizza as well. Would have never thought. So a good option there in town for a super casual meal. But accommodation wise, there's obviously a bunch of options. The Ness Walk and Kingsmills hotels, two great ones there with convenient access to the city. But then moving up to Dornoch, you've got some great options hotel wise. The Royal Golf Hotel. I always laugh because their address is literally the first tee, Dornoch, Scotland. And I don't know, I just think that's super funny. I mean, like, how more descriptive can you get with an address than the first tee? A few steps away, the Lynx House is kind of the gold standard for, service and hospitality in the Highlands. Mara, the restaurant there, is an absolute showstopper. And then just a few steps down the first fairway is the Dornoch Station, which is kind of the new kid on the block hotel-wise. It is part of the Marine and Lawn family of hotels. If you're familiar with the Rusacks or the Marine hotels in Troon and North Berwick, or even the Sleeved Honored, all part of the same family. Just opened a few weeks ago. Our founder, Sam Baker, went and had a look and reported some great things. So we're looking forward to that addition in Dornoch. But the village itself, is a great little town to walk. The cathedral is awesome. You can walk from one side of town to the other in about 5 or 10 minutes. Some great shopping. Restaurant wise, shout out to our friend Chris and company at Luigi, always a favorite of the H&B travelers. And down on the beach, there's a place called the Highland Larder. Cool little seafood food truck type situation. Get there early. They do run out of stuff basically each day. But it's a awesome spot if it's sunny. There's a little covered seating area there, but it really doesn't get a whole lot better than fish and chips outdoors on the beach in Dornoch in the summer.
DJ, it's 10:30 in the morning when we're recording this, and with talking about food, I'm getting hungry. So, but when I was in Inverness last fall, we stayed at Ness Walk and walked to the Mustard Seed in town. So great food there. And then I also stayed at Link's house in Dornoch and ate at Moray. And I'm telling you, if you are in Dornoch, you need to talk to our concierge here at Havisham Baker and make a reservation at Moray. It was one of my favorite meals I've ever had. I had a group that went over and stayed at Link's house this actually past spring, and they ate there one night and raved about the meal. So if you're in that area, definitely make a reservation. It is more of an experience rather than the restaurant itself, and the wine list is like a encyclopedia. So it's great. And shout out to Phil Scott there at Moray and Link's house. It's just great experience overall.
Just you're right. Just a truly incredible spot. And again, it's literally just steps from the first tee at Royal Dornoch. And talking further on the good life, there's a lot of fantastic sites up in the Highlands, but that are a little more spread out. Those things that we've just talked about are a little easier to get to. But as far as other sightseeing, the Glenmorangie Distillery and the Culloden Battlefield and Dunrobin Castle, I mean, the list kind of goes on and on. Because they're a little more spread out, our suggestion is often book a personal guide. They're going to not only, save you some time and be able to kind of cater the experience to what's important to you, but what they're going to add in terms of the value to your experience, being in the company of a local. And it's just, there's no better way to do those things than with a local that's lived there and can tell you things that you're not going to see or hear in the audio tour or whatever it might be. But then the other suggestion, and we have talked about this, we've said this numerous times on past episodes, is to go out there and get lost, especially if you're on a self-drive expedition. Drive up the A9 if you want and go up to John O'Groats, or if you're feeling adventurous, you can head over due west of Loch Ness and go to the island Dornoch Castle, which is, if you have seen any promotional videos for the Highlands of Scotland, you have seen this castle. It's out on a little island. It's just remarkable. And then way up in the northwest corner, there's a 9-hole course up at Ness. Have not been there myself yet to see it, but it's like when we talked about Critch Island, it's at the top, but it requires a little more effort. But the overall point is there is so much to see, and you could really spend some days, and I say days because that's how much you could, really invest in sightseeing in the Highlands. So when it comes to planning that trip, there's a lot of great golf, but to come up to the Highlands and then just drive away and not see all of this great good life on hand would really be a mistake.
That's great advice, DJ. And for the listeners right now, you've been hearing us talk for a little bit, and we haven't even talked about golf yet, which is quite surprising, and it just shows of how good the touring is up in this area. So, kind of the three main headliners, like I mentioned before, are Royal Dornoch, Castle Stuart at Cabot Highlands, and then Nairn. So to start off, we'll start with Royal Dornoch, kind of the cream of the crop up in the area, if you will. It's ranked number 12, golf top 100 in the world. Royal Dornoch is a amazing track. I had the honor and privilege of playing it last fall, and the thing that I didn't like about playing it was I played it by myself, and I wish I could have shared that opportunity with someone else, because I beamed a smile from the first tee to the 18th green, and it was amazing. There's only a few golf courses that I've played before where I immediately wanted to go to the first tee after getting done, and Royal Dornoch is one of those. And some of these they have the hype of being great, and I always like to just play it for myself and have my own opinion, and it surpassed kind of the hype of the course. But it was an amazing day when I played it. The par threes are unbelievable. If you hit the green on all par threes, you are striking your irons quite well, because it is hard to hold some of those greens there. But just like for example too, I mean the first and second holes, par four and par three to start, when I played it, it was raining, lots of wind, and when you walk from the second green to the third tee box, it's a little bit of a walk from what I remember. But after the second hole, the wind stopped, the rain stopped, the sun came out, there was a rainbow, and I'm just sitting out there by myself, just beaming a smile. And when you get to the third tee box, essentially the whole golf course opens up, and it is one of the coolest areas in golf, one of the coolest places just to look. So I hope everyone that plays it has that same experience that I did, kind of standing on that tee of just seeing just you just the only thing you can say is wow. But the bunkers are placed in just the right areas everywhere. Donald Ross was born in Dornoch. There's a sign at his house you can actually go to. I took a picture of it. I went to college in North Carolina and was living there for about six years in the state. So Donald Ross has a special place because played a bunch of his courses in the North and South Carolina areas. So yeah, DJ, I feel like I could go all on all day about Dornoch, but next up is Cabot Highlands, the Castle Stuart. At Cabot Highlands, Castle Stuart is ranked number 77 in golf top 100 in the world. Fantastic course. It's kind of a newer links golf course, and DJ and I had the pleasure of playing it last fall. We were able to play the front nine, and DJ's played the all 18 before. And the biggest thing I really enjoyed and liked about Castle Stuart is it's a little bit longer. I mean, some of they've hosted events on it before, but the fairways are quite wide. It doesn't look like that from the tee boxes, but they are. So it's quite playable. So it's an enjoyable day. And the other big news at Cabot Highlands is Tom Doak is actually designing a second course at Cabot Highlands, and it will be open for preview play sometime at the end of 2024. But if you are looking to go and play that second course at Cabot Highlands, definitely be ready to go in 2025 for full play there. And DJ and I were also able to play the par 3 course that was there, and an emphasis on an italics on was, because it is no longer there. They actually took away the par 3 course and is now part of what will be the new course that Tom Doak is designing. So very fun that we were able to play it, but it'll be better served for the second course at Cabot. And then kind of the other headliner there, like I said, is Nairn. Nairn is number 57 in golf top 100 in the UK and Ireland. Amazing track. It was actually the host of the Walker Cup in 1999 and the 2021 Amateur Championship. Definitely have this on your itinerary as well. One of those that's right in the area. Again, quite close. The 14th hole is a great view of the sea from the tee box as well. And it's just a classic links golf course right on the ocean. So those are kind of your 3 headliners, DJ.
Yeah, just 3 spots that should not be missed in the Highlands. You talked about the par 3, and yeah, we have to talk about it because it's the ultimate shed a tear type situation. One of the most fun experiences I've ever had with golf was with you, sun's going down, playing that par 3. I think I had a putter and a sand wedge and a 7-iron, and the greens had these huge dunes and backstops and so forth. So we're hitting shots back up the dunes and letting them roll down and all of that. All of which is to say, folks at Cabot, if you are listening, please bring back some version of the par 3 course. But Nairn, as you were talking about the 14th, I don't know if it's still there. I really hope it is. But at one point, there was a suggestion box that I'm pretty sure it was on the 14th hole at Nairn. I may have this incorrect, but it's definitely at Nairn. And it was way up in the tree on one of those holes. And that was just the funniest thing. Again, that might have gone by the wayside. I had heard it was taken down, but I also heard it had come back. So either way, 3 great places to play. But, as we always talk about, both on the podcast and to anyone who's planning, an expedition across the pond, it's that, the headliners are great. Everybody wants to go play those bucket list, you say berry bag tag situations. Everybody wants to do that. But listen, the second tier courses at so many of these regions should not be missed. And what's great about the Highlands is you could pack an entire week up here, play a different course every day, and never repeat and not get tired of it. And so running through some of these, Brora, as we touched on earlier, it's funny. Brora was once one of those like ultimate hidden secret type places, kind of like Critch Island in the past episodes. And now it has almost become mainstream as well. Everybody wants to play Brora for a lot of reasons. It's gotten a ton of exposure online and social media and so forth. Don't miss it. Awesome James Braid links course, but what it's mostly known for is the livestock. You're always bound to run into some sheep, or last time I was there a few months ago, it was there were some Highland cattle out on the course. So always a fun time. Golspie, great course with some fantastic variety. It starts out as a links course, it kind of moves into some heathland, and then it kind of continues into a little bit of parkland amongst the trees, and then it's back to the links to finish. I don't know very many courses where you get all three versions in one spot, but awesome spot. The 16th is a par three and might be one of my favorite, well, not might be, it is one of my favorite par threes in Scotland. Tain, an old Tom Morris course, originally. They have done a lot of work over the last several years to remove some gorse and widen the fairways and the playing corridors and so forth. And the work is just fantastic. I think it's the 11th hole there is Alps. It is a hole that would just never be built today, but yet it is remarkably fun. You're basically hitting your approach shot over some dunes and it's completely blind. Awesome stuff. Down to the south, if you're in Inverness, this one's pretty easy to get to. It's kind of around the Firth is Fortrose and Rosemarkie. This place kind of boggles the mind as to how they were able to fit 18 holes of golf onto this tiny, skinny peninsula. But James Braid did it somehow. You get out to the edge of the peninsula, and there's a lighthouse there, and this little par three that kind of plays away from it. But the area is famous for the dolphins that actually live in the waters offshore, and they bring in a pretty good crowd. I'm surprised every time I'm there. I feel like there's all kinds of people out at the beach just watching these dolphins do their thing. And then last but not least is Moray. It's kind of in this in between situation in that it's pretty far east of the rest of these courses. You can do it from the Highlands, but you could also, in theory, do it from Aberdeen. And so, for that reason, it's a good transition day course. If you are headed from, say, Aberdeen north to the Highlands or vice versa, stop off at Moray. Cool little links course, and it's right up against the RAF base there, which is kind of neat because you might have fighter jets coming in and out. But Connor, we have covered a lot of terrain up here in the Highlands. Any final thoughts as we wrap it up, or that we missed along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think we hit it all, but I mean, just to kind of reiterate everything, I mean, this area has it all. Like I said, from golf to touring, this could be done on a first trip to Scotland or a third or fourth trip to Scotland or what have you. It works for a lot of groups, and it's just fantastic. And like I said before, play Royal Dornoch twice. It's a great track, and you want to play it a second time if you're able to. And the other big thing, of which I don't think I even mentioned, was the whiskey. The whiskey's great up in the area. We've talked about it a few times in past podcasts, but if you're into it, I mean, you could honestly do a distillery after or before every round of golf. I'd recommend afterwards, but you could pair a distillery or a tasting, what have you, after each one of your rounds of golf up in the area. And stop and smell the roses, tour the area, get out and see everything, because there's a lot to see when it comes to items off the golf course, as we've talked about multiple times. So that's kind of my final thoughts, DJ.
Yeah, great advice all around. That second loop around Royal Dornoch, that's always our standing advice. There's always that one headline course that you maybe wish you had a second crack at, and Dornoch is definitely one of those that you'd want to see a second time. Or we have groups that are up there in the Highlands for a week and sometimes play it 3 and 4 times. So it's just a place that you can never get enough of. But we, like I said, have covered a lot of ground up here in the Highlands. We're going to, as usual, link to everything in the show notes that we covered in the episode. If you have any questions, shoot them our way. You can send us a DM on social media or email us golf@haversham.com. But otherwise, thank you as always for tuning in. We'll be back again soon with another episode. But until then, we wish you plenty of golf at its finest and life at its best.